brings a special live presentation of TNN Motorsports. For a dozen years, the most consistent 8 qualifiers in the NHRA Pro Stock class have battled for a bonus, a mid-season check for being the best of the best. And the top qualifier at every race gets $3 grand. In those 12 years, the elapsed times have gone down a half a second, and the speeds and purse have gone up. But only 6 drivers have collected the big check at the end of the quarter mile at the Dupont Automotive Finishes Pro Stock Challenge. Today, that check will be $50,000. We're live from Old Bridge Township Raceway Park in Englishtown, New Jersey.
Hello, everybody, from my home state of New Jersey. It's the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge live here on TNN Motorsports. I'm Bob Fry, and jamming to the music up here.
I love that music.
Steve Evans. He doesn't know what to do with himself up here in the booth. What are you doing here? You're usually down there at the end of the track.
I have lived half of my adult life at the end of the racetrack, and finally, our producer said, Evans, enjoy the air conditioning, all the amenities, the good food, the first-class travel. Move into the booth for a race or two. Pass the torch to a young blood named Jason Baffrey, who we'll be seeing a little later on.
We'll talk to and about and with Jason in just a little bit. But first of all, what's up for grabs here today? How about 50 large? If you win this thing, and if you double up, win today and win tomorrow, which you will also see live here on TNN, another 50 grand, plus the Mopar Nationals purse of $20,000. It's 120 grand, and that's not bad.
You know, I mentioned Jason Baffrey. He's going to work this race at the far end. I think I'll be back down there tomorrow probably, though. We'll see. Anyway, who better than Jason right now to tell us who will be competing in the DuPont Pro Stock Challenge for all that cabbage?
Guys, the 8 drivers in this DuPont Pro Stock Challenge have a lot on their mind with $50,000 up for grabs. But one thing they will not have to worry about today is this track surface. It has been notoriously rough on the Pro Stock cars. The left lane was considered to be about like a washboard. The right lane had a bump that affected the cars about the time they shifted to second gear. But over the winter, the owners here at Old Bridge Township repaved this track. Now all the drivers have one thing to say about it. It is smooth. In the past, the driver that could get around the bumps may have had an advantage, but here today it is a level playing field. And who are the 8 drivers in this DuPont Pro Stock Challenge? Let's take a look.
Just making the field, bumping out Ricky Smith in number 8 position, Mike Edwards with 1,790 points. His number 2 qualifying effort in Dallas put him in the field. His first appearance in the DuPont Pro Stock Challenge. In the number 7 spot, Pete Williams with 1,895 points. This first-time challenge driver found himself qualified in the top half of the field at 5 races in the latter half of 1996 and qualified at every event this season in some of the toughest Pro Stock fields in NHRA history. A third DuPont Pro Stock Challenge rookie, Troy Coughlin, with 1,970 points. Troy got new respect for the wall in Phoenix earlier this year. The team bounced back with a new car and a Warren Johnson power plant, earning this freshman the 6th spot.
We got a lot to learn and a lot to get in there and race with, but I think we're going to come out pretty well.
Slotted in 5th, engine builder Steve Schmidt with 2,205 points, who now has Foster Grant behind him. This season, focusing more on his own racing program.
We're running better than we've ever run since we've done this deal. We've had a good run of 3 or 4 races here in a row where we've been to the semifinals. We really are going to be focused going into this race. We struggled last year. We didn't even qualify to the last run, never made a run, so obviously we shot ourselves in the foot during the race. And we've got a lot more focus this year, I think, going into this shootout.
In 4th, Kurt Johnson with 2,295 points. Kurt has been the bridesmaid at 2 finals this season, and he has qualified in the top 5 at 5 of 7 races so far.
What surprised us most this year was our consistency. You know, we've been running pretty good. The AC Delco car has been going down the racetrack every run. And, you know, we've been to 2 of the 5 final rounds. So I think we kind of really surprised ourselves. We just went back, did our homework over the weekend. I think we made 40 runs over the winter, and it really paid off coming into the season opening Winter Nationals. We got runner-up there.
Third, Jerry Eckman, 2,310 points, and did it all without a #1 qualifying spot in the last year. How? Consistency.
We've certainly worked hard over the winter. We got this car working real good, and we've qualified real well with it. I got to say that. We've certainly struggled a little on race day. It's just a matter of getting the right combination. But as far as qualifying, we've done well, and that puts us in a good position in that Dupont Challenge.
Jim Yates, in second with 2,995 points, has had 5 #1 qualifying spots in the last year, not to mention a Winston championship. The split from engine builder Richard Maskin hasn't hampered Yates' efforts. He finds it hard not to grab for all the brass rings.
We kind of look at the Pro Stock Challenge as kind of a race within a race. We're really there to win Englishtown and get all the points that are available there, but there's a lot of money up for grabs at the challenge. So we're out there trying to race as much as we can and still gather a baseline to race with on Sunday. So we try to balance between the two, but it's hard to overlook all that money that's up for grabs.
Top qualifier, Warren Johnson, 3,120 points, 9 poles. In fact, #1 9 out of the last 11 races, and qualified no less than #5 in the last year. But he's not about to count his check before his matches.
Pretty hard to predict a race like that. We're going on a track that's really nobody knows anything about right now because it's been totally resurfaced. So, and we're looking at running the first round as our second round of qualifying, so nobody's going to have any real track time or any experience with that track. So it's going to be kind of a real game out there to try to figure out exactly how to attack this thing.
Steve's still jamming to the music up here. Here's the way they'll match up. The two Johnsons you consider on the same side of the ladder. Yates and Williams, and Eckman against another rookie, Troy Coughlin on the bottom side. A lot of people expect the W.J. Yates final, matchup. If that happens, it can't happen to the final.
It could indeed. One of the finest pro stock drivers this sport has ever enjoyed is the man from Kentucky, one of the Dodge boys, Darrell Alderman. Earlier this weekend, we asked Darrell to give us the pro stock driving experience.
Okay, taking you through a run in an NHRA Pro Stock car. First, the crew chief gets me in the water. I put the car in 4th gear to do the burnout, bring the engine up to 7,500, dump the clutch, go into 5th real quick, do the burnout the same way each time so the crew chief can tune the clutch for the next run. Of course, then I back up. The crew chief gets me in the groove, gets me out of the ball spots for the takeoff. I turn my computer on as I get up close to the pre-stage beam. Okay, then I set my line lock pressure at 275 pounds. Go ahead, take the car into the stage beams. The lights activated. I dump the clutch, let my finger off the line lock, and then I go to 9,200, bank second, 9,200, bank third, 92, bank fourth, 92, bank fifth. Go up with my hand on the chute in case something silly happens. Go on through the traps, pull the chute, shut all the switches off.
Other than the G-forces, what a ride. As many of you race fans know, TNN experienced some weather-related transmission problems today during the ASA stock car race. Now, the final moments of that race will be on race day tomorrow afternoon here on TNN. Now, if you want to know who won, stick your fingers in your ears because I'm going to tell you right now. It was won by Tony Raines. Stay with us. We'll be back for the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge.
Welcome back to the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge from Englishtown, New Jersey, where today the governor, the Honorable Christine Todd Whitman, was our honorary starter today. Let's take a look right now. A guy in his 4th Pro Stock Challenge, Steve Schmidt.
As Steve Schmidt opened the 1997 racing season, the number 6 could easily be seen on the window, but the name on the car door was not too clear. In fact, with no sponsor at all, the engine builder had to put racing on the back burner.
Our primary concern is our customers. Our racing is secondary. As bad as I hate to put it in that perspective, but that's just the truth.
But now the focus has changed thanks to Foster Grant. And what better timing as Schmidt enters his 5th DuPont Pro Stock Challenge. His best shot at winning yet, the best previous finish for Steve came in a semifinal defeat. But what about his customers? He says the aim is still the same, but come Sunday, the target changes.
We try to prepare during the week before the race. We try to be sure that all our customers are taken care of. so that when we get to the racetrack, we can really try to emphasize on our own program. That doesn't mean we're not available for help, because we are, but we try to limit that as the weekend goes on, and certainly on race day, they're on their own.
The only driver running a Schmidt engine, watch out for the car behind the Foster Grant.
A quick note about Steve Schmidt. Just this week, on his way here to Englishtown, his shop out in Indianapolis burned down. An estimated $3.5 million worth of damage to Steve's shop.
And there was no arson involved. It had to do with some kind of welding residue. All right, in just about 45 minutes, we're going to show you the final round live. But earlier today, we saw race 1, round number 1. Here's how we called it live to tape. Bob Fry and I, Jason Badger.
In the battle of the engine builders, an early matchup, Steve Schmidt, that Foster Grant race car, doesn't need a lot of those Foster Grants here today. A bit overcast here in New Jersey. And, of course, coming off the very troubling news about his shop burning down. And he will take on Kurt Johnson in the AC Delco team machine. KJ's won this thing before, Steve. And right now, though, the way they have qualified here at the Mopar Parts Nationals, the quicker the two cars has been Steve Schmidt.
Absolutely, but this is another morning, and I would guess the reaction time is probably going to win this one. And Steve Schmidt loves to beat up on anybody named Johnson in that department. He's done it for Warren in several final rounds, and Kurt knows that. Kurt knows he has to be right on the switch.
It has been a tough 1997 for Steve Schmidt. Needs to pick up some rounds, and this would really help salve the wounds of his sluggish start. And, of course, the problems back home. The AC Delco car, Kurt Johnson looking to win this thing for the second time.
And what a difference a year makes. This racetrack superb, where last year it was open to a lot of criticism, richly deserved, as a matter of fact.
Schmidt really took his time getting in, and then Kurt drilled him off the starting line. Good matchup, top end, and KJ gets the win. 699, 197. Schmidt, 703, 196 miles an hour. And we've got to give credit where credit is due, Steve. Kurt Johnson was first off the mark.
And let's remember, these times also count for tomorrow's Mopar Parts Nationals, and that's going to help Kurt a bit. In fact, Steve Schmidt had been much quicker in qualifying than Kurt Johnson. Typically close pro stock racing, Bob.
Yep, and that's why the starting line advantage is so key right here. Steve Schmidt really took his time getting that car to the starting line. KJ was then first off by a couple of hundredths of a second, and he never really looked back.
Kurt, 699, but not exactly a picture-perfect run.
It was real ugly. You know, I went out there in low gear and started shaking, and I was sideways, and I couldn't see Steve, and I just had my fingers crossed out there.
It's very likely that you could run your dad in the semifinals again. How are you going to get ready for that?
We're going to try and win that $50,000.
Boy, look at that. Jason's first interview, and he doesn't even get on camera. Steve's got to give the kid some pointers. We got more coming up live from New Jersey in the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge. Next up, Roy Coughlin and Jerry Eckman. The Dupont Pro Stock Challenge is sponsored by Peerless Faucet, the do-it-yourself faucet.
Welcome back, everybody. A big crowd on hand at one of the most famous racetracks in NHRA Championship drag racing, E-Town, Englishtown, New Jersey. You know, the second race of round number 1 of the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge featured one of 3 rookies, Troy Coughlin, from the racing family in Columbus, Ohio. Let's meet this young man.
Tap one of Troy Coughlin's veins and you'll find racing blood. His father, Jeg, drove Top Fuel in the 70s, and every one of his brothers has been a drag racer. But it's a passion, not a pressure.
I don't feel any pressure from being part of the family at all. I think my dad, my brothers, and the whole entire family and the people back at work at Jeg's Mail Order, they stand behind it 100%, and it makes it a lot easier for me. It makes it a lot easier for me and the people that work with us on the race car team, so it's fantastic.
Troy won his only national event in Super Gas at the 91 U.S. Nationals. But in his 2 years in the Pro Stock class, especially since joining forces with Warren Johnson, his star has been rising.
It has been a very successful start. I think it's going to do nothing but get better because the team is starting to mold together as one, where the crew's doing their part, I'm doing my part, and we're just kind of starting to mold together with the tune-up with Warren and so forth. And it's coming together. I think the Jegs car should be very much a competitor at this point.
Troy Coughlin in his first Dupont Pro Stock Challenge against Jerry Eckman, a veteran who's here in his 9th, looking for that $50,000. This is the way they went at it earlier today in round 1. Jerry Eckman and Troy Coughlin right here. And Steve, if you're counting engine builders, because they started picking up points after this race last year, I guess you got to say Troy Coughlin running with a Warren Johnson motor right now, but Steve Schmidt's got to get half credit for Troy getting in here because he had a Schmidt motor last year.
He certainly did and earned a lot of points with it. This is crucial for both of these drivers. Jerry Eckman is not qualified for tomorrow's Mopar Parts Nationals. Troy Coughlin is in, but very vulnerable at 15th. So not only would they like to make some money in the specialty race, they're really looking forward to good elapsed times for tomorrow.
The Checkers, Shucks, Cragen Triumvirate sponsoring Jerry Eckman's race car. And Donnie Gardner now working with the Jegs team and Troy Coughlin. He has had a couple of good runs this year, but he's also banged the car around a little bit, caught the wall at Phoenix.
And Troy has very consistent reaction times, right there at a 4.4, probably his average over the season. That's not bad.
That should keep in the chase right here. A little quicker than out of the box. There's that WJ Power top end, and 702 for Troy. 196 and change. Eckman skies to a 707 and slows to a 193-mile-an-hour run. Troy Coughlin gets the win and goes to the semifinals.
You know, I was pretty close on my...
Take a look at this again as Troy Coughlin, almost perfect out of the gate. He had a 100th of a second advantage off the starting line and continued to improve on that at every increment down the racetrack. Ran 156 at the 8th mile and then wins it by about a car length. Jason?
702 to Jerry's 707. You got him off the line.
I'll tell you, that's what it takes anymore in competition here. You got to have the reaction time. And I tell you, the Jegs team has worked awful hard for this, and we're proud to be here, and we're just excited and ready to go.
Even getting past the first round as a rookie is a pretty big accomplishment in this Dupont Challenge.
Oh, definitely. We're, like I said, the Jegs team, we're excited to keep going. And yeah, being a rookie into this is, it's definitely exciting. We're ready.
Well, Jason, it's always fun to tell them they've won. What do you have to tell them they red lighted when they don't know? That's the tough part of the job. Stay with us, everybody. More Pro Stock action coming your way from E-Town.
You know, as a lot of you know, Travis Tritt shot a music video at the Gator Nationals. He also shot a documentary on his favorite new sport, NHRA Winston drag racing. It's called Burning Thunder. You can see it tomorrow afternoon, right before the Mopar Parts Nationals. That's at 3:30 Eastern, right here on TNN Motorsports.
Now, the third race in round number 1 featured Jim Yates against Pete Williams. You know a lot about Yates. He's the Winston champion. Maybe not so much about Pete Williams.
Terrorizing tracks throughout Alabama. He spent some time running a successful pro-mod campaign, but longed to fulfill a lifelong racing ambition.
I wanted to go pro stock racing. This has been a dream of mine since 1970 when I went to the Gator National and watched Bill Jenkins and Wally Booth and all those guys. And so 25 years later, 95, here I am pro stock racing. I'm really enjoying it.
Pete has known engine builder Richard Maskin most of his racing career, and occasionally he gets a visit and a little help from the motor maker. He counts teamwork as a major component of his success.
I don't really have a crew chief. I just have a lot of good guys that help me. So I'm having to be the driver and the crew chief at this time.
Despite the hard work, Pete is quick to use his southern charm and wit.
I hope everybody believes in the hereafter, because Pete Williams hereafter this trophy.
Don't let the smile fool you, though. Pete knows the competition is stout.
This is the most serious racing I've ever won in my life. Of course, you can know there's like 25 cars qualified in Virginia in the 6-second zone, and I was fortunate enough to be in number 9 position there. So this is a very competitive track.
Interesting that a guy's running here for $50,000 who got his motivation by watching a guy that used to race a Nash. That's hard to believe. Steve, right now at this juncture of this race, Jim Yates has been the singular surprise. He came out and grabbed that #1 qualifying spot from Warren last night with a 6.92. He's got Pete Williams to contend with right now, but you got to remember, it was at Pomona that Yates qualified #1. He hadn't been #1 since then. Warren has rolled off 6 consecutive #1 qualifying positions.
And the thing about Jim Yates is he seldom beats himself. He's hardly ever late. He never red lights. And Pete Williams knows that. Pete has to go up there and take a great big club with him. He's going to have to hit that Christmas tree, knock it down, and leave a green light on it.
His club is called Dick Maskin. That's who's got the motor in Pete Williams' race car. Jim Yates, in 4 prior appearances here, has not done well. Never gone to the finals here in the Challenge.
I like his chances today. This is really a single mark series for Pontiac. All 8 of the qualifiers for the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge.
Yates out of the box first. Pete Williams giving him a shot. Falls back a couple of car lengths. Whoa. And Jim Yates, oh, baby, 696. 198 big miles an hour. The arithmetic on Williams, 7 flat, a game effort at 196. He got tattooed off the starting line and never challenged after that.
You can visually see Jim Yates leave first, a 4.7 to a 5.6 light. Yates, they were identical in 60 feet, but from then on, Yates had the power, the muscle, and that's what won it.
Yep, picks it up by a couple of car lengths, and Jim Yates goes into round number 2 in the McDonald's car, looking to win that 50 grand right here. Jason?
Woo! Jim, you had that one wire to wire. You left on him, and 696 takes out his 7 flat.
Oh, I tell you, that's pretty good. The track out there is excellent today. It's a little more than I thought it was going to be. We slipped the clutch just a little bit going down through there, but you know, we need another round win here. We got to try and get us a piece of that $50,000 today.
You've got lane choice over Troy Coughlin, but those guys can step up at any time.
Well, you know, they got Warren's power in that thing. They can probably run just as fast as we're running right now. So we're going to take him as serious as we can. Troy's a pretty tough driver, and we can't let him get away from us anywhere. We got to get him on the starting line. Hopefully we hold on enough to get him at the finish line.
Okay, we've talked a bit about engines. Darrell Alderman took us all for a ride in a Dodge. What about the all-important chassis? For that information, we went to 2 of the top builders in this sport today.
A rolling chassis minus the motor and transmission, you're average around about $60,000 to $70,000. You got a roof and a quarter panels that are actually made by the manufacturer, Detroit items. And as far as other stock parts, everything's got to resemble a stock body part. Like the dash has got to be a stock appearing dash, even though it's just a figment of imagination. And all the quarter panels, like your parking lights, your headlights, all got to be OEM part numbers on there that actually come from Detroit. Even though we trim them up, lighten them up, it's got to be looking like a stock car that you buy on Monday morning after we race them on Sunday. Of the tolerances, the NHRA gives us 1-inch tolerances. In other words, the windshield can be moved up, angled an inch. The spindle to the front nose overhang, that's within 1 inch. The wheelbase, that's within 2 inches of factory wheelbase. And all dimensions are, they give us an inch, the working inch, what they call it.
We have weight to move around front to rear in the cars. We have shock absorbers we can adjust. We have front struts that we can adjust. We can make 4-link adjustments. We can make wing adjustments. And all these things attribute to the track conditions we're dealing with. The wheelie bars are very important. You can stand back in the staging lanes, and some lanes will make the car go left or right, and you can adjust that in the staging lanes. What I do is I'll watch 3 or 4 pairs in front of us, and if a car's going to the left or going to the right, I'll make a wheelie bar change before we go to the starting line and get saved that run.
The competition between those two chassis builders, by the way, Jerry Haas and Jerry Bickle, is intense as any rivalry we see out here on the racetrack. Let's catch up with the winner and Jason Baffrey.
Troy Coughlin is only in his first appearance in the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge, and he's doing well for a rookie. He took out Jerry Eckman in the first round. Now he moves into the semifinals against Jim Yates. Now it's only his fourth race with new crew chief Donnie Gardner. Now, Gardner worked with Todd Patterson last year. Before that, he was with David Rampy when he ran Pro Stock. And he's a fine tuner in his own right. But for Jim Yates, this Jegs team needs something a little extra. Therefore, Gardner will go to Warren Johnson, who provides the power for this Jegs Pontiac, to get that extra added oomph.
Okay, Jason, buy your cameraman lunch. That was a steady shot. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be back with more of the DuPont Pro Stock Challenge from New Jersey. Only 2 drivers have competed in the 12 previous DuPont Pro Stock Challenges. Warren Johnson is here to make it 13. Bob Glidden, unfortunately for the sport, is not.
Bob Glidden has retired from a stellar NHRA Pro Stock career that included 10 Winston championships and 85 national event wins, more than any other driver in NHRA history. But even though Bob isn't behind the wheel, he still has his head and hands in racing, improving engines for Jeff Bodine's NASCAR Winston Cup team. And after 2 decades of successful NHRA Pro Stock racing, to say Glidden will be missed is an understatement. He is a legend. And Bob also feels a loss from his absence here on the NHRA circuit.
All of my fans, I love them all. You know, we're the most fortunate people in the world. We've probably got the greatest fans across this country, you know, in the industry. And just watch for the number 7 car and root for the 7 and 8 cars.
And the defending champion will not be here to defend his championship. The final pair, round number 1, it was Warren Johnson against Mike Edwards. This is the way it went earlier today. Could WJ pick up the 50 grand, or would there be an upset? We know what kind of numbers Jim Yates has put up. Here comes the rival, the GM Performance Parts car of Warren Johnson against Mike Edwards. And Steve, WJ has been flat flying the last couple of races.
And he was in the final round 1 year ago of the challenge against Bob Glidden. And when he lost that, I have never seen him so angry. I mean, he was yelling at the safety safari, yelling at his family, yelling at me. The racetrack had water weeping up through it. He got on it, turned him sideways, and he was defenseless.
This new racetrack surface here has been magnificent. In the interest of fair reporting, both Warren and Yates made their best 2 runs yesterday in qualifying in this lane. Warren had problems on the left side. Mike Edwards, of course, has had an interesting year. A couple of qualifying efforts, a final round, and a crash. A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything for the co-rookie of the year from the 1996 season.
Edwards' advantage out of the gate.
Huge.
Is it enough?
Huge.
Is it enough?
Yes.
How about that? Mike Edwards, 7 flat. Punches out Warren Johnson's 696. Not the first time WJ's gone out here in the challenge. Way back 10 years ago, Bob Glidden took him out in round number 1 just like that.
It's moments like this I'm glad Jason is at the other end and not me.
How about this? It was 400's advantage out of the starting gate. Warren Johnson trying to catch up, and Mike Edwards with a stunning first round upset at the line. Mike Edwards, your winner, 7 flat, 196, and he takes WJ out of here by about that much. Jason?
The upset of the day, Mike. Your 7 flat takes out his 696. You got him off the line.
Jason, we needed that for the team, for John, for the morale. Great start for today.
It's not over yet with the Johnsons. You have Kurt in the next round.
It's never over with those guys. They're definitely the leader of the pack, and it's going to be another tough round, Jason.
All right, here's how the final 4 will match up at the challenge. Mike Edwards against Kurt Johnson. It will be Johnson with lane choice, Jim Yates over Troy Coughlin, and Yates will have the lane choice. And now here is Jason's first trial by fire, a losing interview on a hole shot with WJ. Ouch.
Warren, certainly not the way you wanted your day to go.
Well, you know, those things happen. We had a bad run yesterday afternoon and just kind of backed up, just trying to make a conservative run today, just to try to get a handle back on it. And it slid around, drove through the clutch. It wasn't a very good run all around. I don't even know what it ran, but it wasn't good enough, obviously.
You had a 696 to his 7 flat.
Okay.
Hey, he was gentle with you, Jason. This is the pit of Mike Edwards. He's trying to figure out how to come up with enough horsepower to face off with Kurt Johnson in the Final Four when we come back to the 13th annual DuPont Pro Stock Challenge. Hang in there.
One more to go. Here comes KJ and the AC Delco Firebird. And Steve, he's the only guy of these 4 semifinalists remaining who has ever been to the final. The other 3, Edwards, Yates, Coughlin, have never been to the championship round.
And I'll tell you, Bob, the Johnsons aren't a very clannish family, but Kurt is even smarting from the whipping that man, Mike Edwards, put on his papa in round number 1 with a huge hole shot.
This will be interesting as they make some adjustments there on the John Kite Racing team. Mike Edwards up, co-rookie of the year last year, won that Slick 50 driver award for his prowess on the starting line. But this year, this guy, KJ, has been doing a very good job, underrated on the starting line.
Absolutely. We talked about Troy Coughlin, who we'll see in the other half of the semifinals with an average of about a 4.4 light. Kurt would probably come in at about a 4.3.5, I would guess. That 0.5 is huge in pro stock.
That should play. Kevin Horst, the crew chief, backs away. All Pontiacs. And as Steve mentioned in the opening round, basically nothing to choose between the cars, the driver. The tune-up will make the difference.
Absolutely. 2,350 pounds. Dual Holly 4 barrels, 5-speed transmissions, and they're away.
Mike Edwards nailed him out of the gate. It ain't over till it's over. For the Johnsons, it's over. 7 flat again. Edwards beats KJ, who goes 6.98. Mike Edwards' reaction time, 4.39. 300s in the bank. That was the difference. It looked like deja vu, and so on and so forth.
There's not enough beer in Milwaukee for the Johnsons to cry in tonight. I mean, they took an absolute drubbing at the hands of the man from Oklahoma, Mike Edwards.
The world's fastest emu farmer. Oh, look at that. Just a nose. And at the top end of the racetrack, the crowd's going wild. Jason?
Well, guys, Mike Edwards is still working his way out of the car. He's taking the belts off. He's got his helmet off. We'll wait for him to get out. What an incredible run there, getting the whole shot, taking out both of the Johnsons. He's coming out of the car now. We'll let him get situated. Mike Edwards, you take out both Johnsons, do it again with a whole shot, 7 flat, beats Kurt Johnson 6.98.
I tell you what, I'm doing it the hard way on it, Jason. We're making decent runs in that left-hand lane. I think the right's a little bit better, but thank to God for this win. I mean, without him, this day wouldn't be possible. Thanks.
Mike Edwards takes out the entire Johnson clan. We'll find out who he will meet in the finals when we come back live at Englishtown for the DuPont Pro Stock Challenge. Did not happen. In fact, Jim Yates out first. Look at Coughlin, give him a run, but he comes up short. Great effort. Yates runs a 97. Coughlin right there with him with a 98. A little better advantage out of the gate. We could have had a different winner.
And let's remember, that was Warren Johnson's last hope at doing anything in this DuPont Pro Stock Challenge. That's his engine in that yellow car of Troy Coughlin that showed surprising muscle on the big end.
Yes, it did. Out of the starting gate, 200s advantage for Jim Yates. The way he's been running this weekend, Steve, you cannot give the McDonald's car 200s and expect to track him down.
Let's see, we bet $20. I gave you 20 to 1 odds.
By a lot of Big Macs with that, I'll tell you.
Tony Yates going crazy on the starting line. They're 1 race away from $50,000 from DuPont. Jason?
Guys, he went all the way down the track, came around to us. We were about having to chase him down. Jim Yates getting out of the car. And a happy man. Jim, you're going to your first DuPont Pro Stock Challenge final.
Boy, I tell you, not a minute too soon either. You know, Troy's been a tough competitor this year for us, but I think we got his number right now. It's going to be a tough run in the final. You know, this thing is really running good. This Pontiac is making some tracks down through there.
Mike Edwards has given you some problems in the past.
Well, you know, Mike's an awful good driver, and he's got a lot of horsepower, and John Kite's a good team owner. But, you know, Jerry Bickle and all the guys back here got this McDonald's Pontiac running real strong. And I'm just glad to be here today. You know, the car's on stride, and we're happy.
Well, Jim Yates should be happy. For the Winston champion, life is good. Devoted family man, brilliant businessman, graduate engineer, and here's some more about him.
Jim Yates may well be the defending Winston Pro Stock champion, and with 3 wins already this season, may be on his way to another title. But one thing Jim can't lay claim to is a victory in the Pro Stock Challenge. His 4 previous failed attempts at a challenge victory may be because the field is made up of the 8 most consistent drivers on the circuit over the last year. And in order to win here, the driver is just as important as the car.
It's critical. If you're going to win out here, you don't only need a fast car, you need a driver that's on time every round.
In addition to Jim's troubles in the Dupont, he is facing another challenge this season. After a victory at Phoenix, Jim and Pro Stock engine builder Dick Maskin split up after 3.5 years of partnership. Jim sustained his performance after the split with 2 more Pro Stock victories in Gainesville and Atlanta. But most recently, Yates has seen Warren Johnson help himself to 2 consecutive victories and a national ET record, moving Jim to the number 2 slot in Winston points for only the 2nd time in his many seasons. But Jim is confident that he can spring back and remain consistent.
And we've had some obstacles thrown in our way, but we seem to overcome them every time. And, you know, a new car here, a change in crew there, and be able to seem to put something together and stay right in front of the pack.
Don't forget, tonight's the night, folks. It's NASCAR's All-Star event for Winston. And to get you ready for all the action, join Eli Gold for the road to the Winston. Coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the leader, TNN Motorsports. Eli will talk to you about all those great new paint jobs those NASCAR guys have on for tonight. Jim Yates and Mike Edwards coming up for 50 large right here on TNN Live. Promotion. Welcome back. It's the live finals of the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge coming up from Englishtown and the Mopar Parts Nationals, and that's coming up in just a moment. Commercial transportation for this broadcast has been provided by Ryder, the official transportation company of Opryland.
Imagine now you were one of these drivers, Mike Edwards or Jim Yates. There's a minimum of $50,000 at stake here, potentially, depending on what happens tomorrow, $120,000. Let's listen to the burnouts. Now, Bob Fry, Mike Edwards has not been in the 6s, 7 flat, first and second round. Jim Yates consistently 96, 97. It appears to me Edwards doesn't have the big top end punch, only 196 miles an hour.
He didn't win that Driver of the Year award last year and the Slick 50 bonus for being the best on the starting line without good reason. He can flat out drive a race car. And the first time finalist, we're going to have a brand new winner to add to our winners roster. I will tell you what, double or nothing on that 20-1 you gave me earlier. I think Mike Edwards takes him out of the gate and beats Jim Yates.
I think you're nuts. Yates had the best reaction time of the challenge so far at a .435. Remember, a 4.0 is perfect. Okay, well, we're about to find out.
Mike Edwards rolls up, puts the pressure on. They're ready. They're set. They're off. Oh, man. Yates clobbered him out of the gate. This baby was over before they moved 60 feet. Edwards went right up and staged Jerry Bickle, the chassis guy we highlighted. Tony H., Jim's wife, $50,000. Pains me almost to say that. $697 for Yates, $196. Edwards skies to a $735 after an uncharacteristic $549 reaction time. Little congrats up there at the starting line. This one is over right there.
I thought starter Rick Stewart was going to have to go over and hit Edwards in the head with a hammer. A 54 reaction time, only a 7:35 elapsed time. Something was obviously wrong, possibly with the car and his head. He's a pretty emotional guy. This was maybe the biggest pressure he had ever been under.
It's a good thing those bets were for amusement only. And Jerry Bickle, he builds a pretty good race car. Radioing the numbers down to Jim Yates and saying, hey, what's my cut? That's 50 grand. We'll come back with an interview with the winner of the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge, Jim Yates, right here live on TNN. The Dupont Pro Stock Challenge has been sponsored by Valvoline Durabland, the #1 selling semi-synthetic motor oil.
Well, welcome back, everyone. There's one thing we've got to do before we go away, and that's join Jason at the far end. He's with Ed Stonich, Director of Communications for DuPont, and they got a big plywood check for that guy.
Jim Yates, what a run, 697. You take the win, the Dupont Pro Stock Challenge.
Well, I tell you, there's a lot of pressure on us up here running Mike Edwards, you know, but I just want to thank Dupont and NHRA for putting this show on. You know, it's a great deal for us. It's a great deal for all the pro stock racers to get out here and run for that kind of money.
I tell you what, here comes a check, $50,000. Ed Stonick, Sharon Neff, Janine Ayers from Dupont. What a great presentation. Lots of money. You can double it up tomorrow. Everybody coming in. Here comes the crew. Tony. Guys, let's go back up to you.
I tell you, Robert, Tony set low elapsed time for Cruz getting down to the far end. Of course, when you got $50,000, you can pick your husband's pocket for. There's a bit of incentive.
She moved pretty well, didn't she? And so did Jim Yates. And my pick, well, Mike Edwards just did not have it in that final.
You know, a lot of people at home have been hearing the cars thundering down the racetrack, and that was the remaining pro qualifying. And, Bob, we've got top fuel qualifying right now.
There was some great qualifying going on in the top fuel, and Joe Amato continues to run very well. Bob Vandergriff had a good week. Corey Mack is also playing well, and Kenny Bernstein. So the top fuel car is doing great. And Chuck Etchells in the funny car category, 494, sitting at the top of the pack. He loves running here at this racetrack. Let's go back down to the far end of the racetrack, and Jason Baffrey.
Ed Stonick, what a great day for Dupont. $50,000 going to Jim Yates. You guys have got to feel great about this day.
We certainly feel great. We know Jim. He's a terrific guy. He's one of the class NHRA race drivers. I can't say enough about our association with him. He's a wonderful guy. He supported us at other events. We're glad to be able to pay him back in a way to sponsor an event where he can earn the kind of money that we've just presented to him.
And it's great to have Dupont involved. Bob, up to you.
Well, thanks a lot, Jason. How'd he do down there, Steve?
I gave him a strong B.
He didn't do a bad job.
I don't give A's.
Don't forget tomorrow, we got some great live action coming up right here tomorrow morning. It's first round, and then tomorrow afternoon, live finals from the Mopar Parts Nationals. This has been a production of Diamond P Sports.